The rain hammered down on the cracked sidewalks of Chicago's south side like it was trying to wash away the city's sins, but some stains ran too deep. Detective Marcus Hale gripped the steering wheel of his unmarked sedan, his knuckles white against the worn leather. The wipers slashed back and forth, barely keeping up with the downpour. Another missing kid. Number 17 this month. The department called them runaways, easy labels for the brass who didn't want to dig too deep, but Marcus knew better. He'd seen the patterns. Kids from the projects, no family to raise hell, vanishing without a trace, no bodies, no ransom, just gone. He pulled up to the latest scene, a dilapidated row house on 47th Street, lights flashing blue and red from the squad cars already there. Officer Ramirez stood under the porch overhang, smoking a cigarette like he had all the time in the world. Marcus killed the engine and stepped out, his boots splashing into puddles that reflected the neon glow of a distant liquor store. Detective, Ramirez said, nodding without meeting his eyes. Kid's name is Jamal Washington, 10 years old. Mom says he went out for milk at the corner store around 8, never came back. Marcus flashed his badge at the uniform blocking the door and pushed inside. The house smelled of fried food and desperation, cheap furniture, peeling wallpaper, a single bare bulb swinging from the ceiling. Jamal's mother, a woman in her 30s with eyes already hollow from too many nights like this, sat on the couch clutching a faded photo. "He wouldn't run, detective," she whispered. "He's a good boy, helps with his little sister, please." Marcus knelt down, his voice steady, but his gut twisting. "I believe you, ma'am. We'll find him." He didn't add the part he couldn't say out loud. "If he's still alive." Back at the precinct, the bullpen buzzed, with the usual chaos, phones ringing, detectives yelling over case files, the smell of burnt coffee. Captain Elena Vargas leaned against her office door, arms crossed, watching him. She was sharp, ambitious, the kind of boss who played the political game like a chess master. "Hail, my office, now." He followed her in, closing the door behind him. Vargas didn't sit, dropped the Washington case. Marcus blinked. "What?" "It's fresh. We have a witness who saw a black van." "It's a runaway," she cut in, her voice flat. "Resources are stretched. Focus on the gang shootings in Englewood. That's where the mayor wants the wins." He leaned forward, hands on her desk. 17 kids in 6 months, Captain. All poor, all black or Latino, all from the same zip codes. No patterns, my ass. This is organized. Vargas's eyes flicked to the door, then back. "Organized? You sound paranoid, Hale. Let it go. That's an order." He stormed out, ignoring the stairs. In the break room, his partner, Detective Frank Kowalski, was pouring whiskey into his coffee mug. Frank had been around for over 20 years, on the force, a beer gut and a perpetual 5 o'clock shadow. They went back to the academy, but lately, something felt off. Frank always had cash for the good steaks, the new truck, the vacations his salary couldn't cover. "Cap give you the speech?" Frank asked, sliding a mug toward Marcus. "Yeah, runaways. Bullshit." Marcus took a sip, the burn doing nothing to ease the knot in his chest. "You see the pattern too, right? Those vans keep showing up on traffic cams, but the plates are always stolen or fake." Frank shrugged, but his eyes didn't. "World's a cruel place, partner. Kids disappear every day. Maybe it's time you stop tilting at windmills." Marcus left it there, but that night he couldn't sleep. His apartment in Lincoln Park felt too quiet, too empty since the divorce. He pulled out his laptop and started digging off the books. Missing persons reports from the last year, cross-referenced with hospital transplant lists, black market whispers on dark web forums he shouldn't have access to. What he found chilled him. A spike in pediatric organ transplants at private clinics downtown, patients with no waiting list history, paying cash under the table, rich clients flying in from Dubai, Tokyo, Beverly Hills. Organs didn't have names, but the timelines matched the disappearances. The next morning, he was at the corner store where Jamal vanished. The owner, an old Korean man named Mr. Park, handed over the security footage without a fight. "Bad men," he muttered. "Big van, no plates." Marcus froze the frame. The van was black, tinted windows, but a reflection in the puddle caught something, a sticker on the bumper, a small American flag, faded. He'd seen that sticker before. On Frank's truck, his phone buzzed. Unknown number. "Hale, you want the truth about the kids? Meet me at the old steel mill in Gary. Midnight. Come alone." The voice was gravelly, scared. Marcus went. The mill was a rusting skeleton on the lakefront, wind howling through broken windows. A figure stepped from the shadows, thin, hooded, maybe 30. "I'm Rico. Used to run with the crew. They called themselves the Harvest." Marcus kept his hand near his holster. "Talk." Rico lit a cigarette, hands shaking. "It's not just kidnapping, it's a business. They grab the street kids, the ones nobody misses, hold them in a warehouse, out in the burbs. Doc cuts them up livers, kidneys, hearts, flies them private to buyers who pay millions. Cops are in on it. Your captain, she takes 20%. Kowalski, he's the bagman. Delivers the product himself sometimes." Marcus's blood ran cold. "Proof?" Rico pulled out a USB drive. "Photos, ledger, GPS codes on the warehouse, but they're onto me. If they find out, I talked." Headlights cut through the darkness. Two SUVs screeched to a halt. Doors flew open. Gunfire erupted before Marcus could draw. Rico jerked backward, blood blooming across his chest. Marcus dove behind the rusted girder, returning fire. Bullets pinged off metal. He caught a glimpse masks, tactical vests. One of them shouted, "Take the cop alive, boss wants words." He rolled, firing blindly, and sprinted for the tree line by the lake. A bullet grazed his arm, burning like fire. He hit the water's edge, plunged in, swimming hard under the surface until his lungs screamed. When he surfaced half a mile down, the SUVs were gone. Rico's body lay crumpled where he'd fallen. Marcus staggered to his car, bleeding, and drove, not to the precinct, to a payphone on the outskirts. He called the one person he trusted outside the force, his ex-wife Sarah, a reporter for the Tribune. "Sarah, it's me. I need you to hold something. If I don't call by dawn, leak it." He met her at a 2-4-hour diner, sliding the USB across the table. Her eyes widened as she scanned the files on her laptop. "Marcus, this is huge. Corrupt cops, organ trafficking, kids, Jesus." "Keep it safe," he said, wincing as he bandaged his arm in the bathroom. "I'm going after the warehouse." She grabbed his hand. "Don't be stupid. Call the feds." "Can't trust anyone. Not yet." The warehouse was in an industrial park west of the city, disguised as a meatpacking plant. Marcus parked a mile out and approached on foot, night vision borrowed from the evidence locker. Floodlights hummed overhead. Guards patrolled with dogs. He slipped through a chain-link fence, heart pounding, and found a side door jimmied open with a credit card. Inside, the air was cold, sterile. Refrigerated trucks idled in the loading bay. He crept past crates labeled medical supplies and heard voices. Peering around the corner, he saw it. A row of holding cells, chain-link and padlocked. Inside, kids 8, maybe 10 of them. Dirty faces, hollow eyes. Jamal was there, curled in the corner, clutching his knees. Alive, for now. A man in a white coat, the doc, checked a clipboard. Next harvest at dawn, heart and liver for the Saudi buyer. Kids a match. Marcus's rage nearly made him charge, but footsteps echoed. He ducked into an empty office. The door opened. Frank walked in, counting cash from a briefcase. "Boss says double the take this month. Vargas wants her cut wired tonight." Marcus stepped out, gun raised. "Frank." His partner spun, eyes wide. then narrowed. Marcus, you dumb son of a bitch, should have listened to the captain. Why? Marcus's voice cracked. Kids, Frank. They're kids. Frank sighed, lowering his hands slowly. Mortgage, kids in college, wife's cancer treatments. The system's rigged anyway. Harvest gives the rich what they want, and we get paid. Win-win. Drop the gun. We can cut you in. Marcus's finger tightened on the trigger. Where's the boss? Frank smiled coldly. Right behind you. Pain exploded in Marcus's skull. He dropped, vision swimming. Victor Kane stood over him, tall, silver-haired, tailored suit, like a CEO, not a monster. The leader of the harvest. Detective Hale. Persistent. I like that. Too bad it ends here. They dragged him to a back room. Restraints, a metal table. Doc prepped a syringe. Sedative first. We'll take his kidneys too. Waste not. Marcus fought, but the needle went in. The world blurred. As darkness closed, he held Kane on the phone. Tell Vargas the loose ends tied. Burn the warehouse after the harvest. No witnesses. He woke to pain and the hum of engines. Bound in the back of a refrigerated truck next to the kids. Jamal stared at him, eyes wide with terror. Mister, are you police? Yeah, Marcus whispered, voice hoarse. Gonna get you out. The truck rumbled toward the private airstrip. Marcus worked the ropes, years of training kicking in. He freed one hand, then the other. The guard up front didn't notice until Marcus lunged, slamming his head against the partition. The truck swerved. He grabbed the wheel from behind, yanking hard. Tires screeched. The vehicle flipped. Chaos. Metal crumpling. Kids screaming. Marcus blacked out for seconds, then crawled out, dragging Jamal with him. Gunfire from the wreckage. Kane's men surviving, shooting. Marcus returned fire with the guards dropped pistol. One down. Two. Sirens wailed in the distance. Sarah had come through. But Frank was there too, emerging from a second vehicle with Vargas. Drop it, Hale, Frank yelled. It's over. Vargas aimed her service weapon. You should have stayed out of it. Marcus stood in front of the kids, shielding them. Blood soaked his shirt. It's not over. The files are out. Tribune's running the story. Feds are coming. Kane stepped forward, calm as ever. Doesn't matter. We'll be gone. You, on the other hand. A shot rang out. Not from Kane. From behind. Frank clutched his chest, eyes shocked, and fell. Vargas turned, but Marcus was faster, tackling her, cuffing her wrists as backup units flooded the airstrip. FBI agents swarmed, Sarah in the lead with a camera crew. Kane tried to run. Marcus chased him across the tarmac, legs burning. They grappled at the edge of the runway, a plane idling nearby. Kane pulled a knife, slashing Marcus's side. You think this changes anything? The rich always win. Marcus headbutted him, then drove a fist into his jaw. Not tonight. He slammed the cuffs on as agents closed in. Hours later, in the hospital, Marcus lay in a bed, stitched and bandaged, watching the news. Corruption exposed. Chicago PD ring in child organ trafficking. Vargas in cuffs. Kane in federal custody. The kids, all 10 rescued, reunited with families or placed in care. Jamal's mother wept on camera, holding her son tight. Sarah sat by his bed, hand in his. You did it. He stared at the ceiling. At what cost? 17 gone before we stopped them, and Frank, he was my partner. She squeezed. You saved the ones you could. But Marcus knew the truth. The system wasn't fixed. Other gangs would rise. Other captains would look the other way. He closed his eyes, the weight of it all crushing him. Later that night, alone, he got a text from an unknown number. A photo of his daughter, his real daughter, living with Sarah across town, sleeping peacefully. Below it, we missed one. Next time, it's personal. Marcus sat up, ignoring the pain, and reached for his gun. The fight wasn't over. It never was. But for Jamal, for the ones who made it, he'd keep swinging, even if it cost him everything. Outside, the Chicago rain kept falling, washing nothing clean. But in one small apartment on the south side, a boy named Jamal slept without nightmares for the first time in weeks. His mother whispered a prayer over him, and somewhere in the city, a detective made a promise to the dark: not one more child, not while he still breathed. The harvest had planted its seeds of horror deep in the heart of America, but one man had ripped them out by the roots. The cost was blood and betrayal, and a scar that would never fade. Marcus Hale stared at the city lights from his window, knowing the monsters would adapt, evolve, hide better next time, but so would he. He loaded his spare clip, checked the chamber, and stepped into the night. The rain welcomed him like an old friend, cold, relentless, unforgiving, just like the truth he'd uncovered. And in the quiet hours before dawn, as the first reports of federal indictments hit the wires, a single tear slipped down his cheek for the kids who hadn't made it home, for Frank, who chose money over mercy, for the system that had failed them all, but mostly for the boy he saved, whose smile in the hospital photo now hung on his fridge, a reminder that even in the blackest night, one life could tip the scales. The city slept, unaware, but Marcus didn't. He never would again. The end wasn't a victory parade or a hero's medal. It was a man standing alone against the tide, knowing the water would rise again, yet he stood anyway. Because some stories don't end with happily ever after. They end with a promise: I'll be watching. And the children of Chicago, though still breathing, would never know how close they came to becoming nothing more than spare parts in a rich man's body. But one detective would carry that knowledge like a cross every single day until the day he couldn't anymore. The rain finally stopped as the sun crept over the lake, painting the skyline in blood-red hues. Marcus walked the empty streets, badge heavy in his pocket, and wondered if redemption was even possible for a city built on broken backs and silent screams. For now, though, Jamal was safe. That had to be enough. It wasn't, but it had to be. He lit a cigarette, his first in years, and